Welcome to the Leaderonomics show, and today I'm at the Southeast Asian SME Forum, and here with me is Kris Wiluan, the chairman of KS Energy. Kris, welcome to the show.
All right, thank you very much.
Kris, tell us a little bit of your background and how you entered into this energy space, and ultimately how you became chairman of a company.
I started in Indonesia. We manufacture oil and gas equipment for oil companies operating in Indonesia. But now 70% of our products we export worldwide. Okay. We started in late 70s, early 80s. Basically in the wave of oil and gas exploration in the country. And many of the oil and gas exploration is done by multinational company, outside companies. Okay. So we had at the time the idea or the vision. Sometimes people say at that time not appropriate vision to be involved in the oil and gas sector locally. Yep. So the government bought into our idea that since oil and gas is resources of the country, so it has to be spilled off to local industry. So they have a program of local participation. So that's how I started. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your leadership journey. How did you end up becoming a leader? I started in supply for rigs, oil field equipment, by being agents for various distributors outside the country, various manufacturers outside the country. And then slowly what we did was to fabricate those equipment into locally. Okay. And that took a lot of time because we have that vision, but the main concern at that time was how to get the people who can realize your dream. That's true. So that's very important that we managed to get teamwork of people who supported my vision or supported my dream to become a supplier of oil and gas equipment in the country. Yep. Yeah, that's how it started. And today you've expanded outside of Indonesia? I started with two people. We started first with storage of the equipment, and then we repair the equipment. Then after that we manufacture the equipment. So we have partners, and I think it's very important to have very good partners, co-workers, or associates that's been with me for now 30 years. That you can trust and we can trust and realize the same dream that we had. So tell us a little bit about some of your struggles. I mean, as you started to build this business, I'm sure there are multiple challenges and struggles that you went through. What were some of them and how did you learn from them? Yeah, the first one is, of course, to get the people that's behind you and to support your dream. I've been lucky with that. To get people who can implement what I wanted to have, and then also trustworthy that you can go on and develop your ideas. Secondly is to get a very good financial support, to convince your finance backer, the banks. It's not easy to have things that you're not just wasting time and crazy enough to spend something which is not really, it's a futile business. Because at that time, we are considered to be an industry which is really dominated by expatriates or Westerns, multinational companies. To get into this business, it's really quite a challenge for us, and also to convince the customer. So this one. The other thing is to convince the customer that your product is at par or even better than imported ones. So those are the challenges. Well, why do you think, you see countries like Malaysia, Indonesia and Philippines, you don't see many global multinationals from there? I mean, in the sense that our countries produce such global companies. Yours is probably one that has somewhat gone against the odds. How is it that we can inculcate more global companies coming out from Southeast Asia? Well, I mean, the Western economies has gone through lots of tribulation. They have more experience with us. They've gone through, after the First World War, the Second World War, they have industrialization. We are quite new in the beginning. That's why we are just emerging. But you have lots of global empires coming in from Korea, you're coming in from Japan. And China, China now is coming up. That's true. And I think, our turn is coming in. We have the resources. What we have to have the idea is now to have added value on those resources. Not just exporting our resources. Then we became trading companies. Yeah, we became a colonial times where that time was just taking our natural resources and bringing it outside and making the money outside. Right. You know, when we make garments, we just put in the garments, but the added value is outside, in the distribution, in the branding.
Yes.
So the people who makes the garment is just paid a very small part of the whole thing. So what we have to do is to have that added value of that.
And how do we do that? I mean, how do countries here, move into that sphere?
Well, one of them is, of course, education and also local demand. How Japan come up with their global branding.
It's true.
They sacrifice a lot. I mean, if you buy a TV in Japan and buy a TV in Malaysia, which one is more expensive? The one is more expensive for the consumer is TV in Japan. So they are sacrificing to buy it. But what happened is they have the global reach afterward. They develop their research domestically. So here also the same time is that we must make sure that we control the domestic demand. We develop our domestic demand. That is the basis of us to go global. Then you develop your brand. Now slowly lots of brands coming in from outside, Indonesia, the food brand.
Right, especially food,
we have to control that so that at least you go up the value chain, So that is very important that we go up the value chain.
Now that you've achieved somewhat of this dream, if you were to give advice on somebody else who's just starting out in life and who wants to become like you, chairman of a company, what advice would you give that person?
I think we have to be focused to define what you like to do. I mean, you first to ask yourself whether you're willing to sacrifice yourself to be an entrepreneur, because it's a hard road. When we started, I hardly been at home. Come home maybe only once a month.
Okay.
Your children don't recognize you at the end.
Hopefully they recognize you now.
Everyone recognizes you now. Well, they're grown up now. So I think that's the first thing you have to do, whether you want to be having this focus, lots of disappointment, lots of struggles that you have to do. You have to make sure that you are able personally to manage people. Because to be part of the company is that you have to manage people.
That's right.
You can manage machinery. You just give them oil and you give them
good maintenance.
Good maintenance. It's okay, but people are difficult.
They're emotional.
And that emotional ones. You have sometimes very good 2 lieutenants or 2 partners that very good. They can supporting you, but they don't like each other. It's just how you manage. So that I think is part of the crucial part of leadership and the progress. I think that's always important to get a good teamwork.
If you could give one golden nugget for everybody to take away, what would it be?
I think to go into the business which has sustainability in there, to know whether that business you can control, in the sense that the future of that business you can control. If you're in the food business, you have to understand who's your customer, which part of the value chain are you? Are you in the 5th part on the value chain? I give you an example. Some people go to the assembling of electronic components. Boom time, because electronics is there. But you have to know who you're supplying to, okay? And what are the main consumer? If that later, that product will that be a sunset product, or the product can be obsolete technology. You are the lowest part of the value chain. You get wiped out as well. Although you be hard work, you have very good people in there. So you have to understand the environment. What is your target market is very important. Where are you? So then you can judge yourself whether that business is sustainable, that business can grow, that business has a future or not. Secondly is that, again, whether you can put added value in that business yourself that you can control. If you don't have an added value in terms of the environment, the government, the need for that business, then you have to think carefully.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
We've been talking to Kris Wiluan, the chairman of KS Energy. Kris, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much.